All right, here we are in my studio again, ready to paint what we tooled the first time. Because the brush has a nice point on it, they want to paint with that point. and you really, there's not a whole lot of things you do with the point of a brush. These highlights, see, if you got a dry brush, then it's only going to pick up. This is where your tooling comes in play with your paint. It's only going to pick up these high spots. See how I'm just using the flat of my brush and a real very dry brush, and if you just put a little bit of paint on your brush, then you're only going to hit those high places. That's the importance of having all that good tooling. Tooling makes a difference when it comes to painting something. Can you hear this sound? There's a grate down in this brush bath, and what you're trying to do, most people think that they'd be running their brush by rubbing it against that grate, but that grate's there so that you can rub against it, because what messes up a brush is paint collecting right up in here. And by cleaning your brush out where you can actually hear it scrape that grate, then you're shaking that paint out of that area. You might think about this as being the light halftones. In other words, you're laying a foundation to create a light halftone underneath the darks. So it's still an undertone type situation. You want to extend it on out to where you're like dry brushing almost, so that you can blend it better. If you just paint out there quick, then you're going to leave streaks and spots. And okay, now what we're going to do is start building up our darkest areas. And when you start, we've been working with the lights, so we worked from the light. Now we're going to be working from the dark side. So we're going to start in our darkest places and move out. You got to blend these halftones into the white, but you don't just start right at where they blend together. You have to blend them out from the dark. It's kind of like putting this on. It's kind of like beveling. You're thinking of what's the deepest part, and that's going to be the darkest part, and we're going to bring it up out into the light. I'm going to put a little more water in this, make it just a little bit thinner, so it'll unlike what we've been doing before, we wanted to stay it on top. Now I want it to run down into these recesses, so that's why I'm using a little extra water in my brush, so it'll run off the top and down into the recesses. It's kind of like the reverse of what we were doing. If you get a run over like that, you can pick it up with a good clean brush, but you only want to wipe one time. If you wipe twice, you're going to be putting paint back down again. If you need to wipe twice, you clean your brush out. And I try to do this kind of work where I'm just jabbing and patting and messing with an older brush, because it's already, you don't have to have you're not depending on the shape of the brush so much. So it doesn't matter if it's, and this will keep you from tearing up a new brush. We could come back and throw a little highlights here and there. Very, very carefully. Not too much. If you can mess up real quick doing that, so don't necessarily try to do that right off the bat. Now I'm going to take some highlighter and just put a good liberal coat of highlighter over it and just wipe it off very gently. Make sure I don't clean out all my recesses. and that helps paint it too.